Hey guys, welcome to The Long Game. Today I'm with Ben Van Leeuwen, CEO and founder of Van Leeuwen Ice Cream. He's an entrepreneur. He started with just $60,000 and today he has over 100 stores across America and he's scaling and entering into Korea. Some of the best ice cream I've ever tasted. We're gonna talk about entrepreneurship, scaling, growth, and people's favorite topics, ice cream. We're here with Ben Van Leeuwen, founder, CEO of Van Leeuwen Ice Cream. He's built an ice cream empire. You have over 100 stores. This summer, from June, July, August, you're gonna do 5 million customers and 15 to 20 million ice cream units, pints,
In
ice cream
CPG.
bars, CPG, 20 million. Ben, you started with a $60,000 investment. What was the beginning like? You've been doing this for just about 20 years.
Yep. So the beginning, I had the idea for Van Leeuwen,
Yep.
and I called my brother Peter.
Yep.
I called my girlfriend at the time, Laura O'Neill, and I said, "Do you want to start Van Leeuwen together?" They said yes. I said, "Do you want to sell
Yeah.
really good ice cream off of a truck?" So that was the concept, and both were, the partnership has been incredibly productive. But in the early days, Laura says something around like, it's sort of like, just do it. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah.
And I was really dragging my feet with writing the business plan.
Yeah.
Not because I was lazy, but because I wanted it to be the perfect time. I wanted to be in the perfect headspace and have everything else figured out. You're never going to get there.
Right.
And Laura said, "Ben, sit down and write the business plan." And I did it. And I wrote a business plan. We set out to raise $250,000. I grew up in a really wealthy area. I'm not from a wealthy family.
Okay.
And I thought, this is going to be easy. I know a lot of rich people.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
Yeah.
Everyone I knew with the most money who I went to said, nope. They said, "I love this idea, but it's not the right time," which
Right.
you hear a lot. We didn't give up, though. We
Yeah.
knew we were going to get the money.
Yeah.
In the end, friends, a college professor, family came together, 15 people, and put in $60,000.
Wow.
Not a lot to start a business with, even then in 2008. So I bought a used post office truck off of eBay, a 1988 Chevy van. I think we paid $5,000 for it. We found a guy in Queens who could turn that into an ice cream truck. And we found a co-manufacturer, which is a factory that will make your products with your recipes and your
Yep.
ingredients.
Yep.
Because we didn't have the capital to build our own factory.
Right.
$60,000 could barely buy that used truck and get it turned into an ice cream truck. Capital for the first run. So that was the start. And by the way, it was a lot harder than that, but I was 23.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
still
just gonna-
energetic, but we had so much energy, so much tenacity, and so much positivity.
Yeah, you need a lot of positivity when you're starting a business, when you're raising capital. And as a real estate developer, we're raising capital all the time. These projects require a lot
Yeah.
of capital. And people think that you just go out to wealthy people and they're just going to give you a check, but it's not like that. How did you approach them? Because we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to raise capital. How did you approach them in the beginning days? And so for real estate development, there's certain ways to raise capital. You're raising capital for an ice cream idea. What was it like? Did you have a presentation, a pitch deck? Did you have a structure? You were 23.
I built a really good 60 to 70 page business plan
Okay.
with the help of my
Yeah.
Columbia MBA educated sister, who
Okay.
at the time had worked at Goldman Sachs. So she knew what she was doing. So it was a really good looking deck.
Yeah.
Particularly to only be having raised 60,000 in the end. And I sent the deck around via email, and we printed a lot of them.
Yep.
And I talked to people, but there was no formal presentation.
Got it. Okay. But a 60-page business plan, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good plan.
In the beginning. So you close the 60,000, you buy a truck, and what gave you the idea, Ben, to start with ice cream? Was there something in your past, in your history?
When I was a senior in high school in Greenwich, Connecticut, I needed a summer job. I was about to go to college. And I saw an ad in the newspaper that said, drive an ice cream truck, earn $500 a week. I think that's exactly what the ad said. I went into the ice cream truck depot in Bridgeport, Connecticut that same day. And I said, "Can I rent one of these trucks?" And they said, "Well, you have to apply. It's a rigorous application process."
Yeah.
I applied. I wrote down that I really wanted to drive a truck. Of course, they gave me the truck. I think I paid $200 a week for the truck.
Okay.
I would then buy ice cream and mark it up.
Yeah.
And did really well. The second summer I did that, and we were selling Good Humor products.
Okay.
A little bit of Haagen-Dazs too,
Yeah.
the bars, but all novelties, so all prepackaged ice creams. The second summer I did that, I saved about $35,000. I worked from May until the end of October.
Yeah.
And I took that and I really wanted to travel. My brother, Pete, encouraged me to. He's 7 years older than me. He said, you should go travel the world. I said, okay. And I didn't go back to college. I traveled through Europe and Southeast Asia on my own for almost 9 months.
Yeah.
3 years later, I went back to college. I was graduating college. And the only way I'd ever made a good amount of money was driving an ice cream truck. And I was really into food. That's me. I'm super into
that's your
ingredients
passion.
and what makes something taste good. Usually more artisanal production methods. Okay, I want to try to do something in that. I was on the streets of New York one day, having just, I think, met with my sister, asking her if she could help me get a really good high-paying corporate job. The response was, well, it's not that easy. You did okay in college.
Yeah.
You didn't do internships,
Right.
And I saw Mr. Softy Truck, and I thought, why don't we do really good ice cream off a truck? I know how to run a truck.
Yeah.
I'm really into food. I've never made ice cream, but I'm sure I can figure that out. And in that moment, it didn't even feel like an idea. I just said, I'm doing this.
It was natural for you. Yeah.
I was just like, this is going to be my life for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's almost 20 years later.
Yeah. That's really important for entrepreneurs. And when you're starting a business, you have to love it.
Yeah.
You loved it. You had a successful experience. You made $35,000 doing it. And hearing what you just said, you had no doubts. You said, I'm going to do this. I'm committed.
Yeah. No doubts. And I don't say that in like an arrogant way. It was
Right.
just extreme positivity and excitement.
Right.
I wasn't like, I can definitely do this. I'm not going to fail. It was more just like, I am so excited about this. I want to do this. And I only knew how to speak positively about it. So when people would run me through the risks,
Yeah.
I'd hear it. Talking about risk isn't necessarily negative, but the language is so powerful. Bruce Lee talked about how saying anything negative about yourself,
Yes.
even if it's in a self-deprecating way, your body can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So thoughts are harder to control, right? But words we can really control. So I was just this explosion of positivity and excitement around this concept. And I think that's why it worked.
You absolutely have to have a positive mindset to be an entrepreneur. There's so many problems, so many challenges. Falling knives. I have a friend who's a developer. He says it's like catching falling knives every day. So you have this Bruce Lee positive mindset. I myself believe in affirmations, positive thinking, that the mind is so powerful.
Yeah.
If you put your mind to something, you can truly do anything that you want. Where did that come from, Ben? And what, because I can tell that's a part of who you are. And for the listeners out there, it's you have to program yourself to be positive.
I think I'm fortunate that, part of it's my nature.
Yeah.
I am like a naturally excited person.
Yeah.
That comes with
Optimistic.
challenges as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can get very excited. I obsess over things if I'm excited about them. I also obsess over things if they're not feeling great.
Yeah.
So, that's where the challenges come.
Yeah.
But I think it's natural. My father, who's a serial entrepreneur for his entire life since he was 16 years old, selling fireworks at his high school in Forest Hills, Queens.
Yeah.
What he taught me is you kind of always keep your head up.
Yeah.
He didn't teach me this with words, but I just saw, his highs and lows, and he always stayed positive. And this too shall pass.
Yeah. That makes sense then. He if your father was an entrepreneur starting businesses, he had to stay positive. He had to have a good outlook. He had to keep pressing forward. So that rubbed off on you. Okay, so 2008, you buy the truck, you start looking into the ice cream business. Where did you first start selling? And then how was that? And how did you guys get feedback and customers?
Yep. So when we finally got our permit, which took a lot longer than we expected to vend in New York City, it was around June 20th.
Okay.
And we had this idea that Wall Street Financial District would be a good area. A lot of people, a lot of food trucks down there. So we drove straight there that first morning that we got our permit. And for like 2 hours, we couldn't find a parking spot. So we actually gave up.
Wow.
And we drove uptown. and we got to Canal Street, which if you know New York,
Yeah.
has a lot of foot traffic.
Yep.
It was 80 degrees. It was June. We'd never sold an ice cream off this truck in New York.
Yeah.
And there's
These were like literally the first times driving out.
first hours.
Yeah, first hours.
And
Okay.
we pulled onto Canal Street. There was
Yeah.
plenty of parking.
Yeah.
We opened the window. We put the counter out, and we waited.
Yeah.
And there were hundreds of people walking by every few minutes, and no one was stopping.
Yeah.
I don't remember how we felt. I don't think I was giving up, but
Right.
it certainly was.
Yeah.
Whoa, what's going on here?
Right.
We hadn't sold a single ice cream in 30 minutes.
Okay.
So we closed the window.
Yeah.
We just pull onto Green Street, which
Yeah.
leads up to Soho from Canal,
Okay.
which is a very high-end luxury shopping area. And we didn't think that would be so good. But it was really pretty there. And what I learned there is if you're selling something that people do when they're sort of doing recreational things, relaxing things, ice cream is that you want to be in a nice place where people want to be. So Canal Street's sort of transit.
Yeah.
You're just walking through.
Yeah.
Soho, you're kind of walking around.
Right.
So we pulled onto the corner of Green and Prince in front of a Louis Vuitton store. And, I think by the time we opened the window, there were 15 people in line. That just felt great.
Yeah.
We were so excited because we'd been working on this for a year.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, as I was saying, I was positive about it, but you're still like, is this going to work? Right?
Yeah.
Are people going to come to the truck? Are we going to sell 50 ice creams today or 500 ice creams today? And I think we sold probably 800 ice creams that first day.
That
off the
first
truck.
day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as entrepreneurs, business owners, you have to test things out. And it seems like let's go where all the people are, but those people are in transit.
Exactly,
They're just
yeah.
walking, go from point A to point B.
Yeah. All foot traffic is not created equal. It depends the type of business you're doing.
Yeah. Same in the retail business. People driving down the street, the freeway, there's a lot of people, but they're going fast and they're not going to
Exactly. Yeah.
800 customers day one. What were the next steps like in your first year? And selling ice cream is seasonal. Obviously, when it's hot in the summer, people, they want more ice cream. So that first summer, what was that like?
First summer was, we were going gangbusters.
Yeah. Okay.
We had 2 trucks that we launched in New York City. One was parked in Soho during the day and near Union Square at night.
Mm-hmm.
The other stayed on the Upper West Side all day, and they just did great. I was running the trucks. It was Pete, Laura, and I. We had 2 people helping us on the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really small team. We were working from 10 a.m. till 2 a.m. every night.
Yeah.
Picking up the truck, driving it to location, leaving it around midnight, driving back to the depot. It was so much fun, though. We were so excited. And we were really excited about growing. But that was the first summer. And then winter came, and the trucks shut down.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we did that first winter. Laura and I went to Australia. We were starting wholesale, though. We started that right away. We were very fortunate.
Yeah.
The first day on the truck, someone from Whole Foods came up and asked if we did any wholesale. And a few months later, maybe 6 months later, we were being brought into every Whole Foods in the Northeast, which at that time was about 30 stores, maybe 25.
Livia from my team, she said she's like, oh yeah, I used to get Van Leeuwen ice cream at Whole Foods in New York once a week.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's great luck, but you guys were obviously working hard.
Yeah, and as I share that, the CPG, consumer product goods business, which is what selling to Whole Foods is called, their grocery stores, it's incredibly challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's less intuitive than opening a restaurant or opening an ice cream shop or selling ice cream off a truck. So we were fortunate to get in that early, but we did not really know what we were doing in that business. So it took us a really long time to scale that.
That sounds fun. There's these challenges in business. Being an entrepreneur is like really solving problems and figuring things out.
Yeah.
And you clearly have those qualities.
Yeah, we work hard to figure everything out. Learn as you go too.
So 2 trucks. Fast forward to today, you have over 100 stores. What was that journey like? Did you brand your truck Van Leeuwen in the very beginning?
Yeah, always Van Leeuwen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's great. And you have great marketing. I had some ice cream last night. It was incredible. I immediately texted Brooke, my wife, and said, this is the best ice cream I've ever had. And, ice cream is a big market. I've eaten a lot of ice cream throughout my life. And, your ice cream is incredible. Let's talk about the ingredients. First summer, I imagine you're not making your own. You don't have your own special recipes, Van Leeuwen recipes. You're probably working with a manufacturer at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. How did the flavor evolve over time? The different flavors, and then how you made the ice cream.
Yeah, so I mean, from day one, we wanted to make ice cream with no stabilizers, so no gums, no natural flavors.
Yeah.
Lot of cream and a lot of eggs, which makes ice cream creamier and a little more like toothsome with the eggs.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make the most sort of decadent, luxurious, clean label ice cream. I don't think we used the term clean label then possible.
Yeah.
And then to flavor it, the objective was find really good flavoring ingredients. So chocolate from Ecuador, pistachios from Bronte, Sicily, hazelnuts from Piedmont and northern Italy, strawberries from Oregon that are always ripened on the plant in the sun. So it's, I mean, what we do product-wise is super simple.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, is it a secret recipe? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It just is really expensive. You know, or you should say it's relatively expensive to most other ice creams to make because there's a lot of cream, a lot of eggs, and then really expensive flavoring ingredients.
That's what I noticed. It was the most creamy ice cream that I've ever had. What makes it that creamy?
More cream.
More cream.
So we're an 18% butterfat. We don't market this stuff because it's a little hard to explain, but that just means we're using a lot more cream. So like Haagen-Dazs, for example, I think they're around 14.
Okay.
So it's a lot fattier.
Yeah.
Which means you probably don't need to eat as much, right?
Right.
And then egg yolks were, depending on the flavor, 5 to 8%. So that's what sort of makes it a custard, which is why if you look at our ice cream, it's called French ice cream.
Okay.
We can't in the U.S. call it ice cream because our eggs are so high.
Because the eggs are so high. Let's drill down on that. So you said 5 to 8% eggs compared to what is Haagen-Dazs or Ben and Jerry's?
Haagen-Dazs is probably like 1.3. Ben and Jerry's maybe 1.
And what do the eggs do to the texture, to the flavor?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good emulsifier.
Okay.
We're in, you know, I'm not saying that more eggs is necessarily better.
Yeah.
It's more expensive. It's going to make it richer. It's going to make it more custardy. So it changes the flavor a little bit, right? It gives you that really custardy flavor. And it's just such a effective emulsifier that it kind of binds everything together and gives you like a little bit of that chew.
I've noticed eating ice cream over the years, like today, and Van Leeuwen ice cream was, you know, it was creamy, soft. Like when I was a kid, 30 years ago, I'm 41, so, you know, when I was 10, 11, like the ice cream would be in the freezer, and it was like so hard to, when you pull it out, you'd even have to put it in the microwave to like soften it up. What is it in the older ice cream that causes that? Is that the gum? Is that
I actually
how does
don't
it
know.
evolve?
I mean, a lot of it is freezer temp.
Okay.
If your freezer's, maybe you guys just had a really
Maybe.
cold freezer. Because even ours, if it's very cold, it's going to be hard to scoop.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fix that with more sugar. Ours is kind of the same sugar level as most others. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
When did you really start getting into the ingredients? You said, you know, you're passionate about culinary.
Yeah.
And what was that process like? And how many flavors do you have today? What are some of the top flavors? You know, the people like it's a few questions. So
I mean, top flavors are our honeycomb ice cream, which is a sweet cream base, a little bit of vanilla, and caramel that's puffed up, aerated with sodium bicarbonate, broken into pieces of candy, and we fold that in.
Okay.
So it's this kind of like caramelly, custardy ice cream. That's really popular. Vanilla is really popular.
Yeah.
We use whole ground bourbon vanilla beans. So we're using extract, but we're also using the whole bean.
Yeah.
So you're getting like a really deep, rich vanilla flavor. And I think vanilla, especially with a lot of eggs, just tastes really great.
Yeah.
Our pistachio, which is from Sicily,
Okay.
super, super popular. So that's a flavor you see in Italy more. So we, I guess, thought, you know, let's take this really popular Italian flavor and layer it onto this like super luxurious American ice cream formula that we came up with. The cookies and cream, we make our own Oreos.
Yeah.
So no hydrogenated oils, no palm oil. That's a really popular one. You know, it's an American classic, but when you do it like in that super decadent way, it still gives you the nostalgia, but you're like, oh, I mean, I hope you're like, oh, this is even better. And then what was the other part of the question?
Favorite flavors that people like, and what are your best selling flavors? Sounds like honeycomb is one of
those ones I just listed.
Okay. So Van Leeuwen ice cream is more simple ingredients, which gives better flavor to the consumer
That's what we think.
than the big guys.
I mean, I like a super clean label product
Yeah.
that's made with more of the good stuff. Good stuff defined as eggs and cream, and less stabilizers. I don't like the stabilizers. Some people do. It's like a preference thing. Stabilizers allow you to use way less eggs or no eggs at all, because they're gums. So
It's like a fill.
Yeah, I find they're a little sticky.
Yeah.
Because they kind of bind everything together with a gum.
Okay.
Other really popular flavor, peanut butter brownie honeycomb. So it's a peanut butter base with swirls of slightly
My mouth
salty,
is
sweet
watering,
peanut
yeah.
butter, gooey brownie chunks, and then honeycomb chunks.
Yeah.
Kind of tastes like a really fancy Snickers bar. I love that one.
Okay.
And then we
Wow.
do a lot of vegan as well.
Okay. A lot
Vegan.
of vegan. Okay.
Yeah, we have 7 vegan flavors in all the scoop shops. So there's always an option whether you're vegan or lactose intolerant or just don't want dairy for some other reason.
When did you start scaling and adding more stores and moving beyond the trucks?
Moving beyond trucks was year 3.
Okay.
We kind of accidentally opened our first store.
Yeah.
We were friendly with a fellow who was running a kitchen at a bar around the corner from our house.
Wow.
And they had some extra space,
Yeah.
an extra storefront that was attached to the restaurant. And we said, this is right next door to our house, or around the corner. Maybe we could put an ice cream shop here. And it was leasing it from them. So we didn't, I think at that point we'd never signed a lease. So we didn't really
Yeah.
know how that worked. Do
Yeah.
you find a broker? Do we have enough credit to get a lease? So that was our first store.
Yeah.
We built it for, I think, $35,000.
35,000. And now you have 35 stores in New York. You were founded in Brooklyn.
Yep, founded in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, 35 stores in New York City, about 50 in the tri-state area, and then nationwide in 15 states and like 20 cities, 104 stores in total.
Wow, that's incredible growth. But after eating the product, I understand why there's so much demand for Van Leeuwen ice cream.
Cool.
Ben, there's a big focus, and we're building a healthy building. So we have a development focused on fitness and health, and I heard you talk about this in some of your other podcasts. What do you say to, there's so much focus on health and wellness today, and, ice cream, now people are kind of trying to move towards healthier
Yeah.
options. What do you say to that?
2 things. One is, if you're going to do ice cream, do it right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
my thing. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to do dessert, I am trying not to eat it every day, right?
Yeah.
I want to reduce my sugar.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to do it, I want it to be worth it.
Yeah.
So that's part of the value proposition of this dessert, right?
Yeah.
It's dessert. It has sugar in it. The other thing we've been focused on is, for lack of a sound bitey business term, meeting the consumer where they are, which right now, I think there is a higher demand than there's ever been for healthier desserts. Frozen yogurt is calorie-wise lower,
Yeah.
and perception-wise much healthier,
Yeah.
despite the fact that you often put a lot of rich toppings on.
Yeah.
So we've just started rolling frozen yogurt into
Yep.
the fleet.
Yep.
It's in 2 stores right now.
Okay.
So that's part of it as well.
So frozen yogurt. Let's talk about that. You're wearing a
Yeah.
Froyo hat. When did you decide to do that? And then what's the difference between ice cream and frozen yogurt?
Totally. So we've been working on Froyo. We've been working on soft serve and Froyo for about 4 years.
Okay.
We finally opened the Van Leeuwen Flavor Lab, which is our innovation kitchen
Wow.
that is directly connected visually to an ice cream shop in Greenpoint, Brooklyn last June. So we started immediately testing Froyo, and we tested soft serve and Froyo. We saw that there was more of a demand for Froyo, so we said, let's do Froyo. We put it in the front of that store, and we posted on Instagram, we're doing a promotion, come try Froyo for $1. And this was in February, really cold. And
This
a lot
year?
of people came, yeah. Over 1,000 people came in like 6 hours.
Yeah.
So we're like, whoa, there's a massive demand for this. Let's give people this.
Yeah.
And for us, the sort of Van Leeuwen way of doing Froyo was less stabilizers as well. So in Froyo, you need stabilizers. And often if you ask, the shops, can I see the ingredients? It'll be this long list of 30 ingredients, even if it's artisanal looking. Ours just has, milk, yogurt, sugar, and then 1 stabilizer, natural. So it's a little colder tasting. It's a little lighter tasting. I really like it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's delicious.
And then we were able to leverage the Van Leeuwen supply chain and sort of sourcing. So our pistachio topping is the Sicilian pistachios mixed with the kataifi, which is the crispy phyllo pastry. It's in Dubai chocolate. But we're really excited because we can deliver those toppings pretty affordably in this model because we're buying in bulk for the ice cream. So we just add them to the froyo toppings.
Incredible. You have 5 stores in Florida.
5 in Florida.
Okay. What locations?
We are in Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach, Delray Beach, Miami Beach, and Brickell, our newest store. Yeah.
Amazing. And you decided to raise venture capital to scale at some point along the way. What made you decide to do that? What was that process like, and what is it like today? Is it helping you scale?
Yeah, I mean, it was, precisely that. We could not achieve the growth that we wanted to with just cash flows.
Right.
So we sold a chunk of the company in 2018 and then another chunk in 2020. We maintained control and majority ownership, but, it allowed us to get here.
And your 100 stores, are they corporate owned, or do you have investors?
So all 104 in the U.S. are corporate owned.
Okay.
We did just sign a franchise deal with a twosome place in Korea.
Yeah.
And we plan to open at least a few hundred stores in the
Korea.
years to come. Yeah, we're opening 5 this year.
Korea is this is an interesting market. So going from the U.S. to Korea, Ben, what made you go to Korea? What was it about that market?
So, I mean, what attracted us to Korea was they have a good palate. The Koreans know food, similar to the Japanese. The quality of food there is extremely high, whether it's Korean food or Japanese or Italian or French pastry. So they've gotten really good at making everything really well. But we also saw an opening for artisanal, super premium ice cream. So we thought, they like the highest quality version of everything. And we saw that. And then we saw that there were a lot of ice cream shops there. But, not at that super premium level, Baskin Robbins. So really, really successful there. So we said, this is going to work in Korea. We think it's going to work.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're opening 5 shops in Korea. Do you have any other markets on the roadmap?
Europe, Gulf states, really all over.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to go to where we'll be able to scale as sort of efficiently as possible to start.
Right.
Korea's that because it's so densely populated.
Yeah. There's a lot of demand. You did the market research.
Yeah.
I think I read there was like 2,000, 1,800 or 2,000 Baskin Robbins in Korea
Which I
already.
believe is more than here.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
So they like their ice cream. The Koreans I like my ice cream. I'm Korean. But a lot of people like ice cream. So how do you manage and deal with competition? Because ice cream has been around for forever.
Yeah.
There's big companies. There's obviously the 800-pound
there's a lot of
gorillas.
competition. I mean, part of it is sort of sticking to our core, which is certainly innovating, but also saying we're going to continue to make what we think is such a good vanilla and such a good cookies and cream and such a good chocolate. These core flavors that people will come back to, hopefully forever, for their whole lives. But then it's also innovation. Innovation sometimes it can just drive marketing, like making Kraft mac and cheese ice cream, which was a limited time offering, which got a lot of media impressions, which, gets us a little more attention.
Yep.
And then also innovation on like what I'm talking about with the froyo. So let's bring a new product in the store because we think demand or appetite for healthier eating is growing. And we want to be there for you, both for the froyo craving and for the ice cream craving.
Van Leeuwen is having a moment. You guys are social media, and you've been having moments. This is the long game, and we have entrepreneurs on, and there's no shortcuts. You've been operating since 2008. I'm sure there's been ups and downs being an entrepreneur, and it wasn't a straight line. Two trucks in New York to over 100 stores nationwide, and expanding internationally. What were some of the challenges along the way? Was there ever a time that you said, "Oh, maybe this isn't worth it," or it's just like, "Wow, this is a lot"?
I mean, some of the challenges were to be expected. If you want to open 104 stores, you need capital, right? Other challenges were or are kind of the less sexy stuff. I think stuff that a first-time entrepreneur wouldn't really anticipate. So like controlling your inventory
Yeah.
is really, really important because inventory is cash tied up.
Yep.
And ideally, you want as little cash tied up as possible. I think Walmart is famous in business for doing just-in-time inventory, so keeping their inventory levels as low as possible. So that's definitely a challenge,
Yeah.
particularly as you're growing. And then really, it's like controlling costs.
Yeah.
So we're dedicated to keeping the quality exactly where it is, sometimes even improving it as we grow. Because that is something I've seen other brands do, not necessarily ice cream, but just in general. You sometimes see a brand grows and you're like, oh, it tastes a little different, And we really don't want to be that.
Right.
So then we say, where can we cut costs as we grow to make sure we maintain profitability in all the places where the guests aren't impacted?
Right.
So how do I move the ice cream from a warehouse to this Miami store for $100, not $200, right? How do I purchase these paper cups for, 7 cents, not 12 cents? So find all the places that don't impact the guest and focus on those. And that is challenging, because there are endless opportunities there.
Endless. And that's,
Yeah.
and money is made and profits are made oftentimes in the unsexy part of the business.
Yeah.
It's in the blocking and tackling, and it's in the cost analysis and
Yeah.
getting into your spreadsheets, negotiating with your vendors. I heard on one of your podcasts, you'd mentioned like collecting the revenue and arguing with, maybe the POS service or, whoever
Yeah.
you're dealing with, because that is a problem for a lot of retailers.
Yeah.
Is, these POS systems, they're getting chargebacks, they market a fee,
Yeah.
and that eats into your margin.
Yeah, for us, in the CPG business early on and still, controlling what are called chargebacks is really difficult. And even accounting for it takes incredible sophistication. So a chargeback, for the watchers, listeners who don't know, is when you go on sale at a grocery store, the brand is usually paying for all of that. If there's damaged product, the brand pays for that. If your truck arrives to a distributor's warehouse and is late or has different product than that was ordered, there's chargeback. So you kind of have to look at all that and say, wait, are all these legitimate? I don't think there's really bad intention, but
No,
it's so much to manage that sometimes people make mistakes. And then you have to really fight to get that money back.
Yeah. That
So yes,
that makes sense.
like the sort of stuff that people would never think of, the unsexy stuff.
Have you been approached about an acquisition yet?
We haven't. No.
Okay. Do you think you would sell? You get big enough and
I can't say. Maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe you've been at it for
Yeah.
two decades, but you really hit your stride, growing incredibly. What advice do you have for other entrepreneurs out there that are looking to start a business? They have an idea and they want to jump into it, or they're working on something and they're looking for advice. What they need to do. Everyone's journey is different. Are there any high level things? You touched on some about being positive and
Yeah, I mean, the highest level is if you have a viable concept, just do it.
yeah.
I mean, often what I see is what I sort of talked about when I hadn't actually sat down and written the business plan yet. It's a lot of thinking, which is important, right? You should think and plan, but the learning's going to start once you do it, once you get into business.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do on day one, no matter how much planning you do, a year later, you're going to say, holy cow, I can't believe I was doing it that way because I've learned so much that I've figured out even more efficient ways to do this and even better ways to make the product and to market the product. So until you start, I think it's really, particularly for first-time entrepreneurs, right? I think if you're incredibly experienced, you probably do want to take more time because you're going to start with a lot more money.
Right.
But, when you're bootstrapping it, just go for it. Get in business and you'll pivot, you'll improve.
Yep.
So do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just do it.
make the leap. You like. There's a lot of talkers. Get out and do it. Make it happen. Figure it out. Test it. Learn along the way. What other markets are you opening in this year? Where can consumers and your fans, expect to see Van Leeuwen in the country?
This year we're filling out our existing markets. So we're opening more in Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah.
In the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
We're opening more in Houston. And we just opened this one in Miami, in Brickell.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Ben, it's been great having you on the long game. You have an incredible journey. Congrats on all your success.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome.